All right.
Whoa, this ain't going.
Be down the side. And but I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, bee people.
Welcome, my best friend, GW. Sorry we're a few minutes late. We were discussing some particulars on getting in here and sharing some photographs and some information and stuff that we've got. I'm sure everybody's probably interested to know how everybody's doing, how Ricky's doing, and Spanky himself. And I know we have a lot of friends that are in some bad situations right now, but we told them that we'd be happy to come on and help out in any way we can, just to update people, talk to them about what's going on, and just
and keep Ricky's Thursday night live chat going.
That's right.
While he's not able to keep it going himself.
That's right. Yeah. So as far as us and our bees here, we're not doing anything in bees this week, are we, JW?
Yeah, JW. What are we doing this week?
Well, tomorrow I'm fishing. That's what I'm going to do. But in St. Louis area, we kind of had a little bit of a trickle of nectar flow coming in and out, just kind of bouncing around a little bit. But once we hit that real hot spell, it seemed like it lasted maybe a good few weeks, 4 weeks or so, without much rain. Things really dried up pretty quickly. So we didn't have much going on. I've been feeding. I mixed up a lot of sugar syrup, and I started to feed colonies. And one of the bee yards that I went through, that's our southernmost bee yard, actually, I kept neglecting getting out there and feeding them, and I ended up having to reduce back. I think it was 7 colonies out of 40, and I'm going to take the blame on that. I think that some of those could have been, some of those issues could have been mitigated if I had gotten out there just a little bit sooner. All the rest of my colonies are looking really good and really strong, cranking along, doing their thing. All my queens are looking really solid, although we've replaced most of them this year. I don't have any third-year queens, and I had very little second-year queens in there. So much probably like everybody else around the country, we're definitely starting to see signs of the slowdown. Definitely seeing signs of dearth if you already haven't been for weeks. And just preparation for winter, keeping our mites in check, checking to see what those look like. And then supplemental feeding where we need to do that. And but all in all, I'm pretty happy with what I have going on for the most part, besides the little bit of neglect I had in the 1 yard. And JW, I know you've been out there working on feeding yourself here more recently. What's that look like for you?
Excuse me. I'm in pretty good shape. I may lose my voice. I'll tell you this. There's bean dust and corn dust. Everyone's harvesting out this way, and it tears me up. So if I get to where I'm, that's because I had it. But anyway, bee-wise, I've been in bees practically all day today. I mowed a couple more of my bee yards, so I've got them all mowed up in good shape, and I broke down 6 hives that was 5-frame triple deeps, and I broke them down to 2-frame double deeps or 8-frame double deeps today, and I think I'm ready to go fishing again tomorrow. Fished yesterday.
Yeah, did you catch anything good?
Well, you wouldn't believe it. Now, folks, this is honest God. This is not a fishtail. This is honest God truth. I catch 73 crappie. I went to a lake I'd never been to before, and I catch 73 crappie if I counted correctly. And I had one that was big enough to keep.
Holy cow.
And fish from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 7 hours. But I caught 73 crappie, but only had ones big enough to keep.
Well, how big was that one you got to keep? Did it make up for that?
No, I didn't. I
You had to
didn't.
throw back.
A big crappie is a 12-inch or better is what's considered a big crappie. So no big deal. It was a friend and I. We've been able to go to this lake. It's about 70 miles.
Todd, that's what I was thinking. It sounds like you went crappie fishing instead of crappie fishing.
Well, we call them, real people call them crappie. If you see how they're spelled, it's Crappie, not Croppie.
She wouldn't know, JW. She's yuppie.
No, they say crappie in the north. They say crappie in the south, or a lot of folks in the south call them specks or white perch or different things. But in the north, people they do call them crappie.
Well, we're not interested in those freshwater fish right now. We're interested in these Atlantic saltwater fish right now.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out.
Don't say that. I want to plan my meals ahead, and JW knows that, okay? So if we're going to have a fish fry over at JW's farm and invite, 75 people, 100 people out there, we're going to have some food, JW. You know that, right?
I can provide that. So I just do like you do, use that silver hook, like that one you caught there, you posted this morning.
Do you like that? I didn't give that one to
send it to Lisa.
I can send this picture here. I sent JW a picture here this morning, and I told him, I said, hey, I was bragging a little bit, and I said, hey, check out what I caught, and sent it over to him. And of course, he ghosted me for a while. He didn't pay me no attention, but yeah, that's kind of how he does me sometimes. But he's still my buddy, though. So I'm going to send this picture over to you, Lee, and you can, if you don't mind throwing that up there, buddy. But yeah, so I didn't get to go fishing today, but
tomorrow.
Obviously, JW, in case you didn't know, was a fish story.
Pardon my interruption.
Yes, sir.
You got a charter booked for tomorrow, is that right? A 4-hour, 12-hour, what?
I'm going to do a 4-hour in the morning. I tried to get you to come down here and take me fishing, and all you told me to do, right there, look at that. She's a beauty.
Mm-hmm.
He caught it and already had it mounted.
For size reference, from nose to tail there, I think it was probably a good 9-10 feet. So,
Well, them just to show off fish anyway. They're not they're not to keep anyway. That's not eating fish,
Well, one of these days I'd like to catch one of those to show off.
Well,
but for tomorrow I'm fishing for dinner. That's what I'm fishing for. I want something to eat.
Is it a 6-person charter? Is that what it is? Or,
It's 6.
Maximum, yeah.
Yeah, it's 6, but we don't want anybody else on there. We want to capitalize and everything ourselves. Yep, there's the small one. Melissa caught the small one.
Wife, is that correct?
Yeah.
4 of you?
Yep. Yeah, just 4 of us.
Don't drown them tomorrow, unless bring him back.
No promises.
JW will cry big tears for me.
Tears,
okay?
yeah. I'm sure.
We're fishing down in just off the coast of Jupiter. Actually, it's down near Riviera Beach, which is slightly further west. We're going to be fishing that tomorrow, right outside of Singer Island.
Yeah, you're probably just going to troll for Spanish and Kings. 4-hour trip, you can't get in much time, So
yeah,
being inshore trolling venture probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually when we go fishing out here, we catch a lot of snappers and some grouper and.
Well, that's bottom fishing. That's just going out there on someplace he's got probably baited or some structure he's got and dropped down.
Yeah, some type of reef.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes we fish out toward the edge where I think it goes out about 4 miles before it ever hits the shelf out there.
Yeah.
Down near the southern peninsula. It's about 2/3 down, right where it's got that big bump out. The jet stream comes really close to, not the jet stream.
The jet stream.
Yeah, not the jet stream.
The water jet stream.
Help me out, JW. That's the
Well, the Florida stream comes across there, and then you got the Gulf Stream. It comes up
Gulf
to
Stream.
there. The Florida stream runs into it, so you could be in either one probably.
Clearly, he didn't pay attention at Finding Nemo.
I was thinking the Gulf Stream because it comes really close to the peninsula down there at this point.
It
It's only,
does. It's about depends on where you're at. It's about 4 or 5 miles out there to the. That's what I said. You could do that by kayak. Just you could have got you a kayak if you'd paid attention to my post. Did you?
A
pay
shark
attention?
will eat me if I kayak that far out in the ocean.
she won't go into the water past her hips, JW.
Well, you don't have to. Just sit in the kayak.
Yeah.
No, those sharks will get me.
The minute she would see a shark in a kayak, she'd flip that thing over and panic.
When we go out on those fishing charter boats, I see the sharks all around circling those things. They'll just jump right up and chomp me. The
Doug, if
sword-
that was true, I'd live to be 140. Your statement
these
was
are different, Darren. Swordfish and marlin are two different fish.
Yeah, they are two different fish. JW is the fish expert on here, not me. He was the captain for a number of years.
Well, that's what Doug Longman's post said there. That everyday fishing is a day longer in your life. I ought to make 140 then because I've fished several days in my life.
Well, it's too bad you just don't have a fishing boat down here because you could taken us out.
I never did run off the East Coast any at all. I was always on the Gulf side, So
I gotcha.
So why don't we give y'all some updates on Rickey and Spanky, and then after we get done with that, then we'll post the link, and anybody who wants to join in and chat about some bees, we'll get that going on. Say that again, JW.
I said, please do come on because my
Yeah, we don't want to hear Tom talk the whole time because we
Definitely.
all know he will. So we didn't hear from Rickey for about a day or two after everything happened. I don't think anybody did.
We heard from him Friday night.
I'm assuming he evacuated because when we did finally hear from, did he not evacuate? Because I thought he said that when he went back, it took him 2 hours.
I could be mistaken, and if Lee at any point in time wants to jump on here, put a comment in the chat, whatever, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I made the assumption when he had said that he got semi-close to his house and then had to walk about 2 hours to get to his house. My assumption there when he said that was, and I could be wrong, again, Lee may know differently than myself, but that meaning I was guessing that he was coming home from work. But again,
maybe so.
I could be wrong about
I
that.
didn't think about that.
And then by the time you get to where he was at, there was probably water over a lot of roads because of where he's at. And I've never been there before. It is fairly rural, and I think he is up somewhere at the base of the mountains. And we've talked before about the elevation that he's at, and I cannot remember what that is exactly. But he is there in North Carolina, and I believe that's Creston.
Yes.
Creston, is that right, JW? Creston, North Carolina. And he never said to me anyway how much rain he actually got, but he did walk home the rest of the way. And if anybody knows Rickey, I mean, that guy, surely most any of us would. That guy will walk through fire and anything to make sure that he helps somebody, particularly his family. And I think that any man worth quality would definitely do that. But he's a very, very empathetic individual, and he's a very good guy. But so he sent us some pictures, and he's had some contact with us. It's very hit and miss, much like you can imagine, especially when you're already in a rural area. Cell service is not prevalent or great at any time, but particularly when everything's been wiped out, all the infrastructure, electric poles, cell phone towers have been, lost of communication because I'm sure electricity as well as multiple things. And now you're trying to get some sort of infrastructure back in there. And I believe, if not mistaken, I heard that Elon Musk was going to be sending a bunch of communication there for anybody.
Trying to set up
Starlink for like the next month, all in that whole area there, several states, so that people can get some type of communication in there, which is a good thing. But I think Rickey has been working very hard and very diligently, based upon our conversation in the text, that he's just working on trying to get trees cleared off of roadways and trying to open up any roadways that are there so that the electric companies can get in to restore power. And that can sometimes solve a lot of issues. For instance, one thing I didn't think about, if you're in an area and there's a fueling station or a market, and they haven't been taken out, but the building and all the, products or fuels, things like that, are all still intact. If you can't pump them out of the tank or out of the ground, they don't do much good. So having some sort of electricity to get some of those things opened up would be a good thing.
As far as Ricky's property, though,
Yes.
he's only told us so far that the roof on his barn was blown off.
Right.
And then the building where all his tools and they do the building of the horizontals and stuff was moved off its foundation.
Which
Is on his uncle's property or
I
something.
believe it's his brother's
brother? I thought it
or
was
brother-in-law. And again, if Lee knows, there's a few things I'm a little foggy about, and I don't want to put any mistruths out there, but if he knows, he can throw it in the chat or what have you too.
But other than that, of course, they don't have power. They don't have water. They have spotty cell service.
Mm-hmm.
He's Rickey, so he's going to tell everybody he's doing fine, right? So as far as we know, he's okay. They're just kind of making do with what they can. As far as Spanky's concerned, he said that they're okay. Again, no power, no water. Or did he say his power finally came back on?
He did say it came on for a little bit, which he was surprised. He's at the end of a roadway. I think he's at the edge of a town. So he's not quite as rural, from my understanding, as what Rickey is. But I don't still, even though he's not out in the rural area, I don't think he's in any better position either, because anytime you're near any of those towns, of course, when people are very, very desperate, like you can imagine,
Chaos tends to break out.
Chaos is ensuing there. So anytime food or rations, things like that have come in, it becomes very much a free for all. And he actually said, because I asked him, I said, hey, do you have food? Do you have water? Is there anything that we can do as helpless as that, as we are here for them? He said, no, not really. We tried to offer any suggestions that we might be able to think of or what have you. Which again, we can't really do a whole lot at this point in time, because even if you can make your way down there, you may not even be able to get back in there unless you have a mule or a horse or some type of helicopter. Right. So some of these places are pretty much cut off.
But he did say the utility, you said about the utility trucks, the tires being slashed or something.
Yeah. So Rick, Spanky sent me some information, and this was from his area specifically. And let me pull this up so I don't misquote. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. I got a bunch of pictures and text messages to sift through, but
Lee's going to share those in just a second, some of them.
yeah, we'll share those here in just a minute. I think that's the wrong one.
You've got too many messages.
I have a lot of messages going on. I can't find any of them. Anyway, he had sent some information back. There was a post on when he was able to get any kind of a cell service that he said there was 60. He didn't specify what type of trucks, but 60 utility trucks that had their tires slashed the other night. This may have been a couple nights ago, which was really odd to me, why somebody would do that. I mean, we're not talking one or two, we're talking 60 utility trucks had their tires slashed. So, just to give you an idea, relief trucks outside of Lenore, North Carolina, tires were slashed. So that seems really odd why somebody would want to do that, but the world can be a crazy place. And he also shared some information too that said there was a gentleman that he met up with in town that had told him that this particular gentleman was working. There's a river near where they're at. And that guy had worked that morning or that day, I believe, and he had pulled somewhere about, I think he said 38 bodies from the river. So, there's definitely a loss of life here from the flash flooding that had taken place in there, as we can imagine, and every place is a little bit different of, how much water they get, the destruction and such. I think we've been hearing about a couple of particular places. Asheville and also Chimney Rock are the two that you've probably heard the most on social media. Bridges are gone, roads are gone, churches gone, National Guard's there with helicopters. There's also a couple of outreach organizations that of private individuals with helicopters who have been doing a tremendous job. And I don't remember now what the organization was, but
there's a few different ones.
These guys have been bringing their own personal helicopters. One guy was from up in New York, flew down and was actually running bottled water, other rations and such from local airports to these stranded sites and, placing it in areas where they can get it to them very quickly, just to get some sort of, non-perishable food and water to these guys very, very quickly. So, my heart really goes out to these guys because I can only imagine where they're at. It's probably like a third world country out there right now in these spots where there's just, survival of the fittest, really.
Lee, if you want to share some of those pictures that Ricky sent us, that'd be awesome. So this was a picture after Ricky did that 2-hour walk home that first night. I'm guessing that's the road to his house or a road to his house.
Yeah, some of these pictures I don't know. He sent Lee a whole bunch of pictures here this afternoon and emailed them to him. Some of them I got, some of them just Lee had got. But you can see how, a 1-lane semi-passable road there. Ricky did say that he was working really hard the last couple of days. He said Amber, his daughter, and his wife, Miss Ruth, she wanted to go back to work. Amber wanted to go back to school, and he kind of somewhat in a joking way, and then, trying to be lighthearted, said that he thinks that they're getting tired of dragging limbs and trees because they have been working themselves tirelessly, trying to get not just their property cleaned up, but basically get these roadways opened up to, a lot of people. So he's out there helping the community itself, trying to get vehicles to these areas. So he's out on the highways and the side roads and such, clearing trees off just so that vehicles can make their way through some of these spots that are still passable.
Still, because the roads weren't passable, so he couldn't drive any further. He drove as far as he could.
Ricky sent this picture here, and I think he had said this was the largest tree that he had found. That's the bottom of the root ball on a tree that had just completely uprooted. Ricky's not an extremely tall guy, but I'm sure he's, a few inches under 6 feet. So you can see the size of that thing and just the amount of force it would have taken to blow that thing over. Looks like you get a little bit of a couple of these pictures. Okay, so this picture I know is actually, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, that's
here.
his.
This was one of the buildings that he uses to, I think, do some of the woodworking in. And it's kind of washed. You can see that there's really no foundation left there on the backside of this building that they have, that they do some of their work out of. And again, I could be wrong. Don't quote me, please. But I thought he said this location was at his brother or brother-in-law's house. So I think one of his family members. So we can only imagine what these guys are dealing with, going through. But again, Ricky, himself, his wife, they're healthy, they're fine. I believe their house, for the most part, is still intact. There's no issues with that particularly, but not that he didn't sustain damage to his property for sure.
As far as his bees, we asked him about his bees. What did he say about his bees?
I think he said he wasn't sure.
They knocked a couple of them were knocked.
A couple of them were knocked.
Not his horizontals, but a couple of his length stalk hives were knocked over. But of course, he hasn't had time to go through them. There's some more important things going on right now,
Right.
Than checking his bees. But as far as he knows, they're okay for right now.
Yeah, he stood the handful of them. I think he stood them back up or put them back together and walked away from them. At that point, obviously, again, there's other things that I've seen at that time.
We did ask Ricky if he needed anything financially, and he said they're okay for right now.
Yeah, Ricky doesn't want to take anything, and I don't want to put anything out there without his permission when it comes to that. But I'm sure even if Ricky is in good shape, he did say that the company he works for, which is GE, pretty sure it was GE.
I don't remember. Anyway, they're still functioning.
Yeah, Lee, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if necessary, but I believe it was GE. They had provided some fuel for their generators, for all the employees, for their generators. Let me try to find some of this tech. They had provided fuel for the generators. They were also, he said, the food and water and supplies have been pouring in the last few days. We're in good shape right now with my workplace feeding us hot meals. Plus, as we go home, there are other people fixing hot meals for us. So there's people that are responding to them and helping out the situation.
And I think Spanky also said that as of right now, financially they're okay. He was able to get, I guess, his concern was that he wasn't going to get his paycheck from this last week because of, everything going on, but that did actually show up. So they're fine. The only, kind of issue is I think a lot of places are only accepting cash. So,
and these guys will be out of work for a little bit too. So even though they're good right now, I would imagine that moving forward, there may be some need for something that in the future. So yeah,
only in those places because all their credit card machines and stuff are pretty well down with no power and stuff. So
yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of the update on Ricky and Spanky. We'll keep you guys updated as much as we can next week. Do you have anything else you want to add, Lee?
No.
Do you have anything else updates, about Ricky that you want to add?
I know there's more people affected than just Spanky and Ricky, but obviously these two are. Well, I mean, this is Ricky's channel, and Spanky's always up here too. So it's two people that we most of us know fairly good and personally. I know there's other guys in our chats and in the No Life Beekeepers
affected by this.
And JW, help me out here. I don't say the wrong names, but wasn't there a couple guys in that area? Do you know of that also had some issues?
Well, I don't know. I was curious about Greg Rogers. He's in that general area. He's north of Asheville there, I think. And I've got family pretty close to Bob Benny down there in Georgia. And one of them's out of power. One of my brother's out of power. My nephew, they've got power. So I don't know where you're at down there. I don't think it's anything devastating like they had in the hills up there in the Carolinas, but
Yeah.
I think Corey Stevens commented on the North American Honeybee Expo. Somebody asked about Greg Rogers, and I'm pretty sure that Corey Stevens said that Greg was okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that post now.
I just talked to Randy Souther, Tar Heel beekeeper, a few minutes ago. He said they did get power back on at his place, and luckily they have their own water well. So with the power being back on, he does have water.
Nice.
But let's see, he said the water system in Asheville was destroyed, and they're talking weeks to possibly months before they get all that fixed back. I guess for public water.
the thing about it is, folks, it was totally pretty much unexpected for those people. You know, the people in the Gulf, they had the warning that the hurricane was going to hit and come ashore there in the Big Bend area, so they could kind of get the heck out of there. But if you're sitting 300 miles away in the mountains of North or South Carolina, you don't expect to get that much kind of damage from a hurricane. You know, it was just the amount of rain that it produced was just devastating. Anybody that do one, which I have in my time, 2 or 3, why they can be devastating to the communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It's not the infrastructure just won't take that much water. You get 20 inches of water and in 12 hours or something, it's going to wash out, especially in those hills.
Yeah.
Wash out a lot of stuff that's you don't expect it to, and people have a tendency to take things for granted until it happens to you. You don't realize how important electric and water and stuff is till you don't have it. You know, when especially in the towns, most of the rural areas, they got wells or access to water, but people in the towns, they don't have wells or access to water or facilities for sewage disposal or various things. It's you don't realize that you don't have it.
That's right. Yeah, being naive to some of these things sometimes is a luxury until it's gone, then it's a problem.
Here's one that Ricky sent me too. Okay, if you notice the sign right here, they have a church there. That was during the flood. And the church is gone. It was completely swept away.
Yeah, that's craziness. Yeah, so anyway, a lot going on, obviously. And again, we know that there's more than just 2 people that were affected by this. But I would say that, everybody may not be able to physically do something or contribute in certain ways, but you can certainly offer prayers for all these folks. And that's beneficial too. And Ricky really did send you a lot of pictures, didn't he, Lee?
Oh yeah, I got quite a few. Let's see, if you'll jump over on that other chat side that I sent you that message a while ago.
Yeah. Oops. Oh, there you go.
Oh, no, let's start. Oh, hold on. There it is. Okay, go ahead and read it.
It says, this is James Wilkes. He lost all 60 hives on his place, plus all his beekeeping equipment that was in his barn. I found this hive body and lid 15 miles downriver while cleaning the road to get to home. I stopped in to talk to him and he asked, where did you get that hive equipment? What a small world. The photo is a beekeeper close to me and we built him 2 horizontal hives. So I guess this guy had 60 hives and every single one of them wound up somewhere else. Now, Lee, that was at Ricky's house, correct?
That I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. So obviously we've got a lot of devastation there. And, one thing that I was thinking about earlier that would, as beekeepers, that one thing that will think about is there's a lot of people that were affected. And I know even though it wasn't affected as much as maybe North Carolina, West Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, and those parts, Georgia is and I think JW can kind of comment to this, is a pretty large part of beekeeping. I mean, there's a lot of beekeepers. There's a lot of nukes that are built there. There's a lot of queens that are bred out of Georgia, and a lot of bees come out of Georgia. And I can't help but to wonder if for instance, I'll list off an apiary that I know that I follow, Garner's Apiary, that's down in Georgia, and I can't remember now the town that's in down there. They were sending out information that some of their employees were able to get out into some of these yards. What is it? Baxley, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to get out in some of their yards, and they had a lot of devastation themselves. Now, they're a pretty large breeding operation. I think we ordered 100 queens from them this spring, but some of these areas and those areas that were affected could definitely cause a disruption this next coming year if you're looking for bees of any sort, right? Whether it be nukes, packages, and or queens and things like that. And hopefully this doesn't happen, but there's 2 other potential storms that potentially been on the kind of the horizon, could take shape coming out of the Gulf. Now that's a long shot. I get that. I'm not trying to post any fear or anything, but just thinking out loud about this, that could affect us as beekeepers when we're trying to, again, if you're trying to increase, trying to get queens in from down south, the more storms that happen down there that we don't think about, that'll definitely drive prices on things. If some of those queen breeders are knocked out, and the demand goes up, supply goes down, we're going to start to pay more as beekeepers for all this stuff. So something else to keep in mind too. I think there was also, I had heard, and I can't remember now what it was. I should have wrote all this down in notes, but there was a small beekeeping operation, I think, that had planned to be at Nabi that was somewhere out in that devastation. You don't know anything about that, do you, JW? Because you know some of those guys that are over that direction a little bit.
No, Will Banks was the only one I knew, and they're in East. They're over by Savannah. I haven't heard from those folks. They'd be hit pretty hard, and then you got senior moment. Let me think about it a minute, and I'll come back to it.
Well, you had already mentioned Greg Rogers earlier. He's down that direction too, correct?
No, Greg's over in across the line there in north of Asheville.
Yeah, he's in.
Okay.
I think that's exactly where he's at. I won't swear to that either. Now, I think I've seen something that the boy down south of you that's got the BSH stuff, Corey.
Yeah, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Said I think he had been in touch with Craig and Bob both.
Yeah.
Maybe Nathan Stevens. Nathan's about straight south of Nashville, down there on the Duck River. So I think he should be way to the west, on the west side of it, and maybe even Nathan or Cayman. I'm assuming he didn't have it too awfully bad. So
You're talking Nathan Coleman, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's along the Duck River, which I think is middle Tennessee, middle
Yeah,
West.
basically straight north. It runs kind of east and west, but it's straight south of Nashville in that area.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Nathan's like southwest of Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you ever hear of the Tennessee Columbia Bee Association, he belongs to that. But you also have Hardeman's down there, which is about 50 miles from Wilkes bee operation also. They got about, 6,000 to 8,000 hives.
Mm-hmm.
But they're spread out all over the place. But they were more or less in the direct same area as Wilkes's bee operation.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Rickey, he texted me, telling me what was going on. I contacted him this week and got a lot of the pictures that y'all showed. And where he lives at is where my great uncle lives. He lives off the same road that goes back into those hills where he's at. And
Oh, no kidding.
it's the road that I would take to go to my uncle's, which goes to where Creston is up in the mountains. It's located between Mountain City and Boone. And everybody's seen all the devastation in Boone. That's where Appalachian College is and all that. It's a pretty good size, small, big town. It's got everything that you could possibly, all your hotels and different things of that nature because of all the college is there. But that road that goes back to his house there, it's just a normal small country road, maybe 16 to 20 feet wide, and it winds and goes up and down and around and through the valleys and everything else. And like you say, for him to, they're going to have to clear a path to get out through there in order to get back to where he lives. I've not been to his house, but I've been about halfway back that road, and it's a small little road, and off to the right in some parts, like where my uncle's, farm was, there's a valley in there, and there, of course, there's a big stream that runs through there where the people had their houses on the opposite side of the stream, and they would have their bridges and stuff like that to get across, and all that. So it's pretty and pretty rural, as far as the biggest thing is like if you see on the videos and everything else, is that doesn't matter which direction you go or which main road you're on or anything like that. There's either trees in the way, mudslides, or there's small bridges that have been swept away, and it's like you're landlocked. You're landlocked, between this bridge and that bridge. You're not going any farther and stuff like that. Now, where Spanky's at, he's south. He's going towards more like Hickory, North Carolina, which my other cousins live down that way. And or most of them, what's left of them, I'll put it to you that way. That's a little bit more, that's out of the mountains. It's a little more flat land or rolling hills type of thing. Spanky lives a little bit north of Hickory. He's about maybe, I'll say an hour south of Rickey or something like that.
Okay, so there's a pretty good little distance between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, Rickey's up in the mountains, and he's right amongst all the mountains and that ridge, or you might say. And Spanky's a little bit more in the foothills, I'll say, type of thing. And there's a lake down in that area there where I'm not sure exactly where he lives, but I got a good, he's around Lenore in that area there, which is sort of like around, there's a lake and everything right there. So, and all that. And he's probably not too awfully far from Route 40, which is going towards Asheville and that kind of stuff.
Which is the main thoroughfare that runs,
Route 40 is a four-lane interstate highway that, if you're going to go to the Biltmore or something like that, I just seen a picture. I've been to the Biltmore, mansion, and it's a big tourist thing, and that's not been affected because it kind of sits up on a hill, and but that Route 40, that's where how you go to get over that way and all. But where the all right, exactly right. Okay, I was looking at Whitney, and I was on the internet. I seen it's like a huge gate to start to get to the Biltmore, and it showed a guy has an arrow pointing where the watermark is. Now this is like a big, huge brick, sort of like a building, like a gatehouse is what it is, and it's at least 8 feet up on that. That's how much water was there in the area. And where they talk about on the internet, where they say the Biltmore village it's right off of 40. It's a main. It's like a 4-lane or a 2-lane or a major 2-lane highway going in towards the city. There's like the city, and of course the suburbs are around on the outsides, and that area there is where it's kind of plays up to the Biltmore, and it has to have the look of that era in your buildings and stuff. That's why you have that kind of I don't know, where the look where you have like the wooden cross members on the outside of the building with, let's say, spackle in between and that kind of stuff, that kind of a German look to it. And put it to you this way, when we were there, did you ever see a McDonald's with a grand piano in it inside the building? That's how, how they are, that area is all dressed up for that big mansion and everything. And but it's yep, we lost him. But anyway, they'll be back, I'm sure. But yeah, like I say, Ricky, it's going to be it. And then on top of that, like Lindsay said, everything around it, because it's the Biltmore kind of sits up on a hill, like, and it's probably safe, but the rest of it isn't. Let's see what else I was going to say. Oh yeah, I here at the sawmill, I had a guy who works for the Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, and I was asking him, has our area sent trucks and things like, electric trucks, for polecats is what they call them. You had to go in there and set up a pole and all that stuff. It's the one that's got the stick with a grabber that grabs a pole and sticks it in the ground and stuff like that. And he said that some of his friends, they had been sent to Georgia. And he says, now this is the amount of devastation. He says where they're, reestablishing the electric line. And he said there was one area that his friend was telling him, he said, we have a mile of all the poles need to be replaced. He said there's this one area, 90 poles have to be replaced. And then he says, once you get done with that, he said there's another area that's got another 30 poles that they have to be replaced. And how many feet is in between a pole, an electric pole? I don't know what it would be. What would you say, JW? 50 feet?
300, probably about 100 yards apart. Most
about
of
100 yards between one pole to the next.
That's what I would guess. I mean, that's be a guesstimate. That's the way they're spaced in most parts of the country. And unfortunately, a lot of those through the hills, through the mountains, they go right up over a ridge or someplace, where they've just cleaned it out and there's no road. If it's washed out next to it, why? No way to get, even
Right.
get heavy equipment in there.
Well, you'll see that especially on transmission lines going through the mountains.
Sure.
Where that's more of that's not your local electric power, but that, of course, that can be knocked out, and that's long lines in the electric business. They call them long lines, where they're like pipelines going from point A to point B, from one state to the next, pushing electricity to, let's say, the substations. And then from there, the electric goes out into lower voltage, to the people's houses and stuff like that. All right. Yeah. Philip says about 150 yards. I didn't think it was quite that long and all. But anyway, like you say, the guy said, now this is in Georgia, not up in the Carolinas. One stretch is over a mile long, and they got 90 some poles in that one area. Then they got another stretch that's going to be 30 poles. And it takes, well, it depends on how many trucks you got and how much manpower. I mean, how many poles can you set in a day, type of thing. And all that. And then also I was showing the guy, like Ricky's photographs and stuff like that, where the roads are washed out. If they can't go back to those roads,
250 max. Well, that's in the neighborhood of 100
Okay.
yards.
250 feet, I would say. Yeah, 250 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be yards.
Yeah.
So I mean, how many days do you figure it takes to just get, let's say, 90 poles set?
Well, a lot of your REA, your local REA, rural electric companies don't have that many poles stockpile to start with. Then you got to get the poles in there also. So it can be a real problem.
Yeah, it's
Well, it's
just
not can be. It is a real problem.
oh, it is. I mean, and the thing of it is, you have to have the right, depending on what the pole is, what's on the pole, you got to have the right size pole for the job. Especially if it's got a bunch of transformers on it or something like that. So, I mean, it's just one thing after another. What kind of gets me is, I mean, I'm only going by what I see on Facebook and internet and YouTube, and it's been a week, and FEMA's just finally getting it. Oh, here they go. Yeah, they're back.
Apparently the internet just issues like to follow us wherever we go. We're at this, Airbnb down here in where are we?
I don't know.
What state are you in?
We're in Florida. We're like in the West Palm Beach, Jupiter area. But apparently the breaker that the internet and router is connected to popped. So we had to restart the internet.
Melissa's taking too much power out of the system. Have you?
Be careful, you're going to believe
Yeah,
it.
I don't. Did you hear anything I said, Tom? Or they froze? No,
They're froze.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh
I can
my
hear you.
gosh.
We can hear you talking, but we can't see your video's froze.
Yeah, it's a little bit blurry.
Oh.
But that's that's some of the things I found out through the guy who was here today was from the electric company and all that.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the transformers come from. I'm obviously a transformer manufacturer, and that kind of stuff. But like I say, Ricky, like I say, he's back up in the hills there, pretty darn good. It's pretty rough, but it's and that thing that I see with his pictures is trying to get a truck or you got to get the roads fixed before we can get any of the electric and all the other stuff fixed.
Yeah.
Because they can't drive them trucks back there with and all that.
You have to clear the roads, put them back in place, and then you can start to put the infrastructure back, right?
Yeah, that's about what it amounts to. Yeah.
You can see all the mud that's built up along the sides of that roadway. You can tell that whole thing at some point was a river going through there,
He must have come over the top of it.
That's tricky there.
Why is
There's
that
his voice, I guess.
Is that a lake up there?
That's just horse washed out, I think.
some kind of levee or dam or something has been washed.
There goes his own. Driver.
Ricky's truck is
Yeah, that's Ricky's truck.
Yeah, it's his little pickup.
Yeah, but look right there. Look where he had it was a waterway going underneath the roadway, almost washed a bridge or whatever it was away.
Mhm.
When you're talking, let's say a electric truck trying to get across there with poles and whatever else, they're not going to chance it to get across there
Yeah.
unless it's really, structurally sound. If they do.
No, I go through that same thing right here where I'm at. I'm on a real electric system, back in the edge. I'm the end of the line, so We have bad storms. I'm sometimes without electricity right there at that location you're looking at for up to 30 days at a time sometimes, you know. We had a tornado go through here year and a half ago, and my real REA provider, they didn't have enough poles to get the lines all back up. I had to get another, train load of poles in. So train car load or 2 or 3 ran out of poles. And like drop tines putting their Chris, and them transformers, if they're down and damaged, and they're full of PVC. So what you get when they get down and damaged, well, then you got the EPA people after the power company people, and it's just a mess. And that's all you can say about it. God help them.
Mm-hmm. I think all that timber that's down there in northern Florida and South Georgia, out there by Melanie and Dennis. Dennis had told me that he goes, some of those older grow trees out there actually get harvested because a lot of that wood comes out there, goes to pulpwood. And he said a bunch of it gets shipped over to China. A little bit stays here. Most of it gets shipped to China. But he also said that some of that timber out there, if it's, tall enough, straight enough, and meets criteria, they use that for power poles actually, which I did not know.
Not too much of that jack pine stuff. Most of them good power poles come from the west,
Oh, do they? Is that a different type of pine tree then?
Yeah, well, they're not pine.
They're not pine. Okay, I understand.
A lot of them spruce and
slower grow trees.
Yeah. Most that.
I wonder if they'll come back.
Most of those, that's jack pine. Most of that stuff around here were Melanie and Dennis are, and that's all. Most of that's pulp pine. That's real soft stuff. It grows fast.
Yeah.
California pine, Rome molestus, Todd's talking about.
CA pine. Okay, gotcha. The California stuff.
California pine, baby.
Mm-hmm. So Mark said something about the comment up there. Says Tennessee just sent almost all the National Guard engineering companies overseas just before all this happened.
Yellow pine to the south.
How ironic is that, huh? Well, hopefully they send them all back. My brother was actually not National Guard, but he was Army, and that's what he worked on as an engineering
Bridges and stuff.
section of that, where they did temporary bridges and such, where they would, try to span areas and such. So that was part of what he was doing in the Army himself. That's part of the Army sometimes people think about.
Jason Hughes is apparently in that general area down there someplace. Where's he located? Everybody know his location? Jason or
who?
Jason Hughes. Tell us where you're from, Jason.
What's his handle, JW, now?
Yeah, it's just Jason Hughes.
Jason Hughes.
He apparently knows Lindsay and those folks. He's in that general area down in there someplace.
Mountain City, Tennessee.
He's right in the heart of it, right next to Preston, yeah.
Yeah, he's in Mountain City, Tennessee. He's not that far from where Rickey is, for sure.
Yeah, he's right in the middle of HELL right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's living down there with Cody Norris and the Watauga Mountain Boys.
Nollichucky.
Oh, yeah.
How do you say that?
Mountain City is definitely right next to North Carolina there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ashland and Creston.
And them all come together
What
right
you do,
there.
you come through Mountain City, and then when you make a left on 88, I think it is the road number, you go over a little mountain and you kind of crest this little hill, and then you go from Tennessee to North Carolina. It's kind of like, I don't know, you can flip back and forth between different states right quick that way.
You talking 167? Is that what you're referring to, Charlie? 167? That comes out of Mountain City on the south side of it. And that kind of runs along the border, actually, but it actually kind of heads probably more north-south, but a little bit east-west right there on the kind of the Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm going towards, I take Route 421 out of Mountain City. 421 will take you right into
City
Boone.
is right on the line of border.
Yeah.
421 is kind of like the
there.
main state road.
Yeah, come to Mountain City and then head south out of there.
Yeah.
It's not a good place to be right now, I can tell you that, folks.
Yeah. You can definitely tell when you look at the lines on the map, all the different elevation differences on there.
Yep.
That's all right in the Blue Ridge country, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, so hopefully everybody can get all their stuff together still and be able to, for the folks who are going to be bringing product and such to Nabi, which I can imagine a lot of companies are starting to rely on that revenue stream, that comes out of there. And I'd hate to see that be cut off for any of those folks or they miss out on it because that could be pretty devastating. I can't see. What does it say?
Yeah.
There's Creston right there.
Yeah. Philip, the Boone County beekeeper, that's Tim. He's in Boone County, West Virginia. So I met him at Hive Life, and I thought he was from Boone, North Carolina, because of the family connection. But actually, he's in West Virginia. Yeah, Jason. Yeah. Just a quick question, Jason Hughes. Can you get from Mountain City out to Interstate 81 without any problems?
No.
Jason says no. Okay, Jason, because I was watching for everybody, and Cody Norris is a bluegrass musician, and he was this past weekend. I think he was down at the International Bluegrass and Music Association convention in Raleigh. I think, or I forget where it's located at. But anyway, he was in Nashville, and he said he was going back home to help people out. And I'm thinking to myself, can you get back home, with the band? So that's why I was just curious. They were kind of away from home and not knowing how bad it is.
So what have you been doing in your Charlie? Anything interesting or anything new been taking place there in the last week and a half or so?
What, with the bees? You were broken up a little bit.
Yeah, with your bees. Yeah,
I've been my bees. I was out today actually filling my top hive feeders up. They in here usually our honey kind of quits around July. Actually, it's extended. It extend through July a lot later, and they filled up a lot of the honey supers up top, naturally. And so I'm seeing that I'm not having to feed as much. They're slowing down considerably quicker than what in normal past years. And I had 40 gallons of sugar water starting this evening. and I've got about 15 gallons left, and I believe I'm just going to quit at that. I think they've been slowing down quite a bit. Thank you, Jason. I was wondering about that. I know he got out of IBMA, and then also I think he was supposed to play the Grand Ole Opry. Maybe it was last Friday's when he played the Grand Ole Opry, right in the middle of all that storm. Not for sure. But anyway, I pretty much getting ready to quit feeding. I'm going to fill whatever's left, kind of leapfrog the feeders, where ones who are sucking it down still, and the ones who are just like, I'm full, I'll take and dry. I'll just drain those hot, what's left in those top feeders and put them on hives that are still, sucking it down. And just, I've already did that to one hive already. And I did check a hive that I knew it was queenless. I knew they had made queen cells. They were capped here several weeks ago. Today was the first day out of, I'll say, at least 12 or 13 days we actually had sunshine. The last at least 12 days, it was been overcast, it's been misting, it's been raining, not torrential downpours or anything like that. It's just been a real gentle rain, it'll rain and quit for the rest of the day type thing. Just kind of a wet 12 days. And today was a nice warm day. Sun finally came out this afternoon. And so I opened up this nuke that I knew I had a problem with. I hadn't been feeding it because of that. And it has 2 boxes of honey on it. It's a medium box and a deep 5-frame box. And then I went down and where the brood area was, and the brood's all gone. There isn't any evidence of any queens. Of course, probably if they did hatch, they hadn't been able to get out to do any mating anyway. If there's any drones left, there had been some. So I was thinking about it this evening, trying to utilize the bee power and the stored sugar water honey to utilize that without just letting the hive die over a period of time. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's pretty much we're pretty much done. I did 2 mite treatments. July through August was Apiguard. Wasn't really impressed with that situation. The bee inspector was here the last week of Apiguard, which was also the week just before September and Labor Day. And she was noticing a little bit more mites present in the hive, as far as in the drode broom where you cracked it open and stuff that was in between the frames. So I put Formic Pro on. It came off. I put it on September the 2nd, Labor Day. And after that, I watched the mite drops on the boards, and some hives had a lot of drops. Some of them didn't have much. So that was kind of concerning of me as far as, I don't think Apiguard, like everybody's been talking about, really does much anymore as far as your mite load goes. I plan on doing oxalic acid vapor once or twice a month, as long as the weather's permitting, around 45 degrees. Probably start that around November, maybe late October, depending on temperature conditions more so. Right now, I picked out one of the hives where I said there was a 10 framer. It was a double deep. I took off the feeder. They weren't taking any more food here last week, I guess it was. While I was there, they were sort of calm, and I picked up, one deep frame, and it was wall-to-wall cap brood on that deep frame. So there's plenty of cap brood in these hives, at my hives still. And so, as far as a vapor treatment, it's not going to do any good. 80% of your mites are underneath the cappings. Have to wait till that brood all hatches and she's probably starting to slow down now anyway, depending. Of course, it was pretty warm today. So that's where I'm at with my stuff. Just kind of prepping to get into winter. I mean, and all that.
Hey, Melissa, what's for dinner? Jack
well,
Jack.
JW wants to know.
No, not JW. Jack and Danae. They want to know.
Oh.
They see you in the background back there fixing something.
So
There she goes again, JW. Eat. Gee, I'll tell you what.
So we had pizza. Okay. So we really come to this area because we like to eat down here. Surprise, surprise. But last night we went to this one restaurant. It's one of our favorite places. It's called Leftovers. They have this really good sweet potato encrusted whatever fish you want on a bed of greens with apples and grapes and just all kinds of goodness, and it's absolutely delicious. They also have this other dish called Indorini, which is adult mac and cheese. Well, somebody wouldn't share his fish dish with me last night, and I really wanted the mac and cheese, but I also wanted the fish. So I ordered the fish. So we each got the fish. So I missed out on the mac and cheese. So my sister-in-law wanted that again tonight, but we wanted pizza. So we ordered pizza from one of the pizza places down here we like. But since she was going to that restaurant, I had her get me carry out of this mac and cheese also. So I already had pizza, but now I'm eating a little bit of this adult mac and cheese that is absolutely delicious.
I don't know what to do with her, JW. I'm not even sure what to say. You think it's always me, right?
So we had pizza, and now I'm having mac and cheese.
I'm not going to get involved in your family feud now, folks.
I need someone to get on my side.
When we come down here, we plan our whole vacation around where we're eating dinner and lunch.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
And you're in Florida right now?
Say again.
You're in Florida? Okay.
Like,
Down
yeah.
there with down there at Mar-a-Lago, aren't you staying just next door to Mar-a-Lago?
We're visiting with Trump tomorrow. No.
It's actually really close to his place.
Yeah. We're actually right across the inlet from it today.
Yeah. That's the picture I posted on my background, JW, that you liked and commented too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have been looking toward the direction of the bus.
Hot dogs, like, sure. Whatever floats your boat.
Yep. Oh, hey, so here, Mark, that's a great question. You want to know, I'll give you the Bob Binney answer. And I didn't realize this until probably about a month and a half ago. So Bob Binney actually said that you can use oxalic acid vapor in a colony, and you can follow up immediately thereafter with an Apiguard treatment. But you cannot do it in the opposite order. You cannot use an Apiguard treatment and then follow up directly thereafter with oxalic acid. Now, both of them being an organic material, neither one of them will stay or persist in the colonies for long term. Oxalic acid, I think, leaves very little trace of it, like almost within a couple days. I believe what he had stated was the thymol, which is the active ingredient inside Apiguard, does persist for a very short time. And he didn't give exact days or numbers, but I kind of got the impression that maybe within a week. So you would not want to use oxalic acid vapor directly behind thymol, because it does take just a little bit longer for it to dissipate inside the colony itself. He said that can have a synergistic effect if you use it in that direction. My question for anybody else would be, have they done that, and what did they notice? Did you notice an effect from that?
Todd's joining the chat so he doesn't have to listen about our eating habits.
No. I came on for one reason.
Okay.
DC, please email me at lomavistabeco@gmail.com. Please, I have some information for you. It's not a joke. Please, please, please. All right, now I'm done with that.
Thanks for your service announcement.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that was our commercial break.
You know what? I've mentioned it like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in the chat.
I
And
put it in. I thought he would get it.
yeah, and I
It's now scrolling.
nothing there. So yeah.
Everybody's going to email you now.
Hey,
I'm gonna send you.
hey, why not?
I'm gonna send you an email, Todd.
All
Can
right.
you throw that back up there, Lee? I'm gonna send him an email.
Malcolm, it's one of our favorite restaurants. It's amazing.
So did you guys like transplant from the Show Me State or what?
No.
No, we just love it down here.
Yeah, you
We
sure
had-
spent a lot of time down there.
So I'll tell you the story.
We were in the north part of the state a month ago.
That was total just last minute that we went and visit Melanie and Dennis. But we've been coming to this area in Florida for what, 18 years now?
Since
No, not 18,
2009.
like 16 years now, something like that. Because one of Tom's clients, Tom has a landscaping business.
Yeah.
One of his clients had a house in Palm Beach Gardens, which is right in this general area.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I have a house down there. If you guys ever want to go down, just let me know. And he didn't rent it out. It was just his vacation house. And he'd let clients or whoever, it was a nice tax write-off, right?
Yeah.
So like, we'll go down there and hang out. He's like, yeah, stay as long as you want. Like we came down and stayed like for 2 weeks, no charge, whatever. And we just kind of fell in love with the area. And then he sold that house because he bought a condo for his retirement and whatnot. And we still come down every year to this area. We just really like it. So
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
yeah, he kind of hooked us and got us addicted. So this is like
Well,
our vacation area.
It's nice to get out of the St. Louis area every once in a while. So
Mm-hmm.
Rudy Schmidt Riviera over there with the high rollers. Just right across the street from Donald Trump.
We were on Peanut Island today, which is right across the inlet,
Intercoastal.
the intercoastal from Palm Beach Island. Where
When we were down here in May, Melissa bought me concert tickets to this concert that I like called For King and Country. It's a Christian band. And so she bought me tickets for that. So we came down then. And when we flew into Fort Lauderdale, which is usually where we fly into because it's a little cheaper than West Palm Beach to fly into, the Trump's plane was sitting on the tarmac when we were down there. It was probably at Mar-a-Lago or something.
ooh.
Or something.
Awesome. All right, looks like my work is done, so I'm going to finish.
So I seen on Facebook, Todd, did you sell all them cases of Happy Tablets?
I've gone through some, yeah. I've gone.
No, I mean there was a case going to Texas or a bunch of them or whatever it was.
Yeah, I had. Matter of fact, I just shipped 10 cases out to Phoenix or Arizona this morning. So I had a pallet in my garage, but it's slowly it's going away.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Todd, are you going to Nabi?
No, I won't be able to make it to Nabi, but I am very, very close on pulling the trigger on tickets to the Manitoba beekeepers meeting in.
So are you going to California Beekeepers?
You know what? California Beekeepers this year is in Reno, and I don't know the date yet, but I don't know if I'm going to go up there. So,
That's in Nevada, right?
Yeah, that's Reno, Nevada, right?
yeah, it's just on the other side of Lake Tahoe, so it's it's not that far into Nevada, but still,
you could come to St. Louis in February and sell your Appy tablets at the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association workshop.
You know what? There's also Bob too, and there's Mamet. So, hey, you never know. I have not been in Missouri or to Missouri since 2000. Oh gosh, 2011.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a while. But that was Southwest. I was near Springfield.
Okay.
I lived in Billings for 5-6 years.
We drive through Springfield on our way to the lake at least once a month in the summer.
Yeah, you probably
We're
didn't
down there
leave it.
about 2 or 3 times a month too, Todd.
Oh yeah.
Those people, I don't think they honestly ever work. I've never ever.
Yeah, they're pretty low key. They I don't know. I don't know. I can't say anything about that. But.
Again, when we go to the lake, it's his sister and brother-in-law's house. We stay, so we don't pay anything to go there.
They drive through on their way to the restaurant.
I'll tell you a funny story. So, I was born and raised in California, driving around all the time, right? So I moved back there in 2010. Oh, no. 2005. And we bought a house in Billings. And so we're driving down the country road to our neighborhood, and it's just a little, 2-lane farm road. And here comes this white pickup coming at us in the other lane. And I've got my hand on the wheel, and all of a sudden I see this on the other side, like that. That guy just flipped me off, because in California, they don't do that.
Mhm.
No, the only thing they do is they give you the birdie, And so I thought, what the heck? That guy flipped me off. And then, I finally found out, no, that's what everybody does around here. And that's what they do.
Let's call neighbors.
Correct. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you don't have much right here. I honestly wish I stayed there, but it is what it is.
You can always come back.
If Tennessee or Missouri, if they don't pass a law to restrict Californians from moving back into those states, I'm going to do it here sooner or later.
Well, we'll let you back in, okay? But definitely not all of them. I can tell you that. I mean, kind of like the governor of Texas said, hey, when a bunch of Californians started moving out and moving to Texas because they got sick of the nonsense, said, hey, look, that's great. Y'all can move here. Leave your ideals at the border. Otherwise, you're not welcome, right?
Yeah.
I think your fellow Missourites got your number out there.
I know. Everybody's calling us out. You just got to know who to know. You just got to know who to know.
Yeah. But I would much rather live on the western side of the state than the eastern side. I'm all my bloodlines come from the Ozarks. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep. Southwest.
Ozark Plateau. Yeah. My grandpa lived in Lanigan, which is off of 65, going towards Knoll, Missouri, in the southwest corner, and there's like 3 houses left. He was born in, 70 something. But yeah, there's not much left there, but that's where all my roots came from.
You got a deal there, Mark Miller. Post that one. You got to be.
Oh yeah. So
for Queens anytime.
Now I fished with my uncle for crappie when I was back there. We went to Stockton Lake. I don't know if Tom and Melissa have been there.
I know where that's at.
I've never been there.
We went there a lot, but out here they don't know what crappie is. They think you might be fishing in that white porcelain lake. You know what I'm saying? So they're called crappie out here, but I know better.
They are here in part of Illinois I lived in too, except the real southernish hillbilly hicks like myself, we still say crappie.
Oh yeah. Me and my uncle got on a mess of them one day. We floated down. I can't remember the name of the river. It was north of Springfield, but it was south of Stockton Lake. It was somewhere in there, and it was like 3, 4, 5 mile float. And man, we just lit them up in there. It was close to Stockton because they were letting them out, or I don't know. they had crappie in the creeks. It was the only place you could find them. And of course, we caught some smallies and stuff in there too. But it was nice. It was nice. It was a nice time. That's the best thing to do down there is float the creek and fish. Sure. Yeah, it's awesome. All right. Well,
some of those streams they stock with trout. You know, they're spring fed. They're cold water. You know, in southern Missouri down there around Springfield.
Oh yeah.
What is that? Taneycomo. That water comes out of Taneycomo.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good trout fishing there.
Yeah, it is. It is. And they have a Bass Pro right there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, there's one in Springfield, you know, the big ones in Springfield.
Original,
and then
yeah.
they have that smaller one in Branson there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
down on the landing.
Her cousin's husband manages that one down there on the landing.
Hey, what's the restaurant that throws rolls at you? Dinner rolls?
Lambert's.
That's right, yeah. And that's some crazy stuff there.
It's called the home of the throwed rolls.
Yeah.
Is that where you're sitting at the table and they say, "Hey, I want a roll," and you catch it?
Yeah, they'll throw it at
Yep.
you. You got to catch it.
And my brother,
put your hand up and they'll toss you a roll.
Yeah, my brother has been there when he went out to get a planer out in Missouri, and
Gerardo's got one. I don't know where else has got them.
There's one in Sykeston, and there's one just outside of Springfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on the way towards Branson.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's really heck is whenever they're walking around with a mashed potato bowl and you put your hand up, that gets a little messy. That's a little tough.
You're an idiot.
I was hoping maybe one day my pal JW would take me to one of those places. Maybe we can go sometime.
I can't afford you.
Yeah.
Too high maintenance. They're too high maintenance for me, Todd. Charlie, I'm telling you.
Well, just come give me a plane ride or something, you know.
They're high rollers.
Oh, JW, you show up with your helicopter somewhere. All right. Well, I am going to finish my dinner. I made some pork, and so I got to finish eating. But,
Okay.
DC, I got your email, so I'll get back to you in just a couple minutes.
See you, Todd. Have a good one.
All right. See you guys.
All right. See you.
I think we're only going to hang on for a few more minutes. Melissa and I seem to be having some difficulty with some internet connection here or something.
We've been on here an hour and a half now, almost.
She must have spent all of our money on food and didn't pay the internet bill, I guess, huh?
We're at an Airbnb.
Oh.
That's not my internet.
Oh, well, then I guess that's not the cause then. So what do you guys have moving forward to do here later this week and next week? I know I'm going to work on when I get back in town at the end of the weekend, I'm going to work on feeding some more colonies that I've got. I'm going to mix up a partial batch of 1-to-1 still and go back to some of those colonies and feed. And then from there, I started to break some of my thirds down off of those boxes. Like JW said, you know, I had some extras sitting on there when I was doing the Apiguard treatments and kind of following the tail end of any flows that were there. But I started pulling all those off. And actually this morning, I made my boys go out to the bee yard and grab those extra boxes I had sitting out there and bring them back to the shop. But because they're still home working, but I do need to feed a few more colonies, probably to get them up to where I want them to be though. So
You're still going to feed them 1-to-1 right now?
Yeah, just for right now. I mean, our weather's still been really good. So I would rather feed a little more continuous 1-to-1 than come in at the very tail end and start shooting 2-to-1 at them. Now, there's no particular reason other than I think that it may help to keep them stimulated, you know, fed bees. And if you keep good flow coming in for bees, I think that helps to purge some issues that can arise with, you know, bees that don't have any incoming sources coming in.
Gut issues and whatnot.
Yeah, so I would rather feed them 1-to-1. Not that I'm opposed to feeding 2-to-1 because I absolutely will. If I need to build weight late in the season, then I can. But I'm trying to do my best to plan things out and be proactive when
Well-
it comes to these sorts of things that I think is really important that we get our timing down.
Are
And
you
everybody-
doing mite treatments, Tom?
I've actually completed those, and I'm still probably going to come back and do some isolated mite washes just to see kind of where they're at. If I've got some that need some more attention, I don't think that I would use Apiguard anymore this year on them, because I know a lot of these counties are rearing our winter bees, and I don't want to affect that any. What I have done since I had that issue with a lot of those nucleus colonies that I had put the Apiguard treatments on, which I understand that even though the we discussed this with Greg had come on and spoke about the labels, and we all remember that chat here probably maybe 3-4 weeks ago.
Right.
How it's very, very vague, and it seems like it's written by an attorney, not a scientist. I'm probably going to do something a little different next year when I go to all my nucleus colonies. I don't know that I'm going to use Apiguard on them. I may just do oxalic acid vapor, but do it every 3 to 4 days and do it for a 3-week continuous. It'll be a little bit more work on my behalf. I'm going to position those nucleus colonies that they're in an area that they're not going to be too far from my house, so it won't be a large travel between those. But I think that might be the direction that I'm going to go, because I was pretty disappointed in myself that I lost, I think it was nine of those.
8 or 9, yeah.
Yeah, 8 or 9 of them.
Well,
Because
when you did
for me,
Apiguard on your 8 framers, what was your temperature right at that point in time? I know it's been a month ago or more.
Yeah. So when I had done it the first time around, the temperatures had dropped off and they were in the 80s. I think they were in the mid 80s, 84, 86. But after about, I think it was 7, 8, 9 days into it,
It got hot again.
it was after a week. There was about a 2-day spell that jumped up to somewhere between 92, 93 inside of that area. So it got a little bit warm. I don't know specifically that was the trigger that pushed him over the edge, because I didn't check him until after the treatment was done.
We didn't have any issues in our 8 frame stuff though. It was just in the nukes.
Yeah. The 8 frame stuff did fine. And honestly, what was surprising is in the past, I've seen some of those colonies shut down. Some of these colonies didn't even shut down. So I just think my mistake was using
When I did
much.
the Formic Pro, I noticed that, like you say, the queens sort of slowed up a little bit in them highs, but then they come right back, no problem.
That's
when
what
I
Formic
was when I
Pro-
was pulling it out the second week, where that strip is pretty much kind of like dry cardboard. I would pull a frame up and check to see if I seen eggs, and I seen pretty much all stages of brood, especially like older larvae and stuff like that, getting ready to be capped. So that was very promising and stuff.
And that was what I had done on a lot of colonies. I'd open them up. I'd check for the numbers. And if I seen the numbers and the activity look healthy coming in, sometimes I would split open in the middle of my brood nest and pull one frame out of the center just to see what it looked like. And I'd put it right back in and close it right back up.
Right.
Or then start after my first round, I went ahead and started my second round, because I just wanted a quick peek to see what was happening and just get an initial understanding. And then I put it right back together and moved on. So, it's one of those things where I guess you live, you learn. I don't think there's any one treatment that's perfect. They all have their flaws and their downfalls. It just depends on how you manage bees and what you're willing to do for them.
It's like some people are scared of Formic Pro, and I said, well, I've used it enough where I kind of know what the weather conditions need to be, and temperature and humidity and stuff like that, and kind of what time of the year. I would love to take Apiguard and replace Apiguard with it. But I'm looking at, like you say, heat and humidity, and definitely do just 25 grams and all that.
Well, on my nukes, I would cut that way back. I got some suggestions of doing like 10 to 15 grams. And some of these nukes that I was working on, some of them were actually double deeps too. So they weren't just a single small 5 frame that I was working with. And I probably should have known better. What I probably should have done is I probably should have checked all of those before I treated them, because all these were their splits, and some of them were pretty late year splits, and they may have not have had any mite load in them at all, and I may not even had to treat them, But I was kind of I just wanted to go through and treat everything.
It's like I was watching. I was watching Darren, the Pennsylvania beekeeper, and he was putting Formic on, and he was you know, if he got a good strong hive, he put it on. But if there was a weak nuke or something like that, he wouldn't put it on there. And I did that last year where I had a fresh nuke, one box, one deep box. I did forget to take the entrance or I didn't check. I didn't see it, and it killed that hive. And but in retrospect, I wouldn't have put it on at all because it's new, it's young, it's just not built. It isn't. If it was a double deep, you know, nuke, then I would consider it. But you don't have enough bees there to take care of that vapor for you. So
Yeah.
it's just things like
JW,
that you get to know.
Yeah. JW, you had a little bit of experience with that on nukes. Is that right? Can you remind me of that?
I won't use Apiguard at all. If you use them on nukes, and that's just my experience, that's all I'm going to say. And you and I have talked about this privately, I think. You really want to have them really opened up, a full. If you use them on 5-frame stuff, you want to have a full open entrance, and you want to have a crack in them, or you'll have some unlive bees, is all I can tell you. Just, Joy Rawls and myself have made a pact. We don't kill anything. We unlive them because Joy's had some problems with YouTube on killing small hive beetles. So you unlive stuff, you don't kill it. So. But in my case, I just won't use it on nukes anymore. I've lost too many in the past. So
Yeah. I'm not going to say never. I'm just going to say I'm going to be very cautious if I do it. I'm going to cut my treatment way down on that. But I haven't, you know, it's kind of a lesson for me, I guess. So I need to change something. And I don't know if that means specifically just cutting the dose way down and making sure that I'm not going to get above a certain temperature threshold, or if I'm better off just taking the extra time and running multiple doses of oxalic acid vapor on those and run it every, say, 3 to 5 days, or make a schedule where I do it twice a week.
that's what I do. That's what I run it 5 times, you know, on 4 days on those small hives.
Yeah.
And just to do about I'm just telling you what I do. I'm not saying that's right, but I don't ever put in over 2 grams at a time on those nukes either. You know.
Yeah.
You don't want to load them up. You can make them abscond with the oxalic acid if you really get carried away with it. It's been my experience on those small hives. I call them starter hives.
Yeah. On the oxalic acid I've used on nukes in the past, I personally have never experienced that, but I appreciate you saying that. That's something to think about and something to pay attention for too.
Yeah, I've never had that problem. I mean, but I, like you said, Tom, size of the hive, whether it's a double, you know, a 5/5 versus a single, and you know, like with Apiguard or whatever, any of it, you know, the size of the hive, the temperatures at the time, you have to tune it in for all those variables and stuff. And that's more of an experience thing and all.
Got a couple things. So Brian said Appy tablets are good for choice for nukes. They're on our shopping list for Nabi.
Yeah.
We're going to try them out in at least one of our yards next year. And then he says,
yep.
propolis sperm around the Apiguard cards. We find that quite often.
I had some old cards that were left in there in between my second and third deep boxes. And when I pulled them off, I should have taken a couple pictures before I left to come down here. But some of them had, I mean, I could have pulled a wad of propolis off of that card that would probably equal the size of a golf ball. That's how much propolis was around there. They definitely do not like that for material.
We've only found, like, I've only seen it one time, though, that they actually propolize the Apiguard into the card.
I didn't see any of that.
It was last year. I saw that one time.
Yeah.
And then Roy has a question about how to store the Apiguard tubs We just put the lids back on them and keep them in our basement. That's how we store them.
With other beekeeping supplies, not in our food area.
Yeah. So that's
If you get it very hot,
How
Roy,
do you
it'll
store?
crystallize on you. If you get it very hot, you want to stay within the storage parameters that they've got on their instructions, or you'll have some. And then
Now,
you get it too cold too.
what we have noticed though is that when you go to use it next year, some of it might be dried out a little bit on the top, and you'll have to it kind of crystallizes or whatever. You kind of have to stir it back in to kind of rehydrate it. But when you do that, you have that syringe. Thank you. And it's going to be really hard to pull through that syringe. So you might have to weigh it out or put that syringe back a little bit to make that opening larger.
This is what I would wish that they would do. Okay, I don't particularly have a problem with Apiguard, even though I don't think it's a perfect solution. What I would say is that really stinks is somebody needs to come up with a different method to put it on the card. I mean, come on, people, for crying out loud. Somebody come up with something, or even a hack or a trick to putting it on a card. I mean, there was times last year that, when you put enough Apiguard on cards, you can kind of look at it and gauge it. We were using a spoon to put it on there. Now, somebody else had suggested before too, and I think this is a good idea, is carrying a little small scale out with you, throwing a card down, slapping some on there with a spoon, and, adding to it, weighing it out, throwing it on the colony. That's a great way to do it too. And honestly, in my opinion, it's probably even a little bit more accurate
I think that's how
than using that silly syringe, because sometimes when I think JW had the issue with it started to separate just a little bit on them, and it got a little bit clumpy and it didn't want to drop inside the syringe. And then it becomes frustrating, and you start kind of winging it at that point a little bit. Having just a different delivery method in some way, shape, or form, I think would be much more beneficial. So who knows, maybe the scale is a little bit better option, but I wish they come up with a different idea on that. Honestly.
Well, I don't know, but if you had a measuring cup, I'll say.
That might work too.
A tablespoon is 15 grams. Yeah. So if you can find something that you could dip it, cut it off with a knife, where it's even and is I'll say the most accurate as far as, let's say 25 grams, and just plop it on there. That would be, I think, maybe an easy way of doing it, but I'd have to find something metric wise to be able to get that.
Brian, I take a 5-gallon bucket size. I don't know how many tubs do we go through of that stuff this year.
We went through 4
tubs.
But that'd be a great idea too if somebody wanted to go with a half bucket size. And if anybody doesn't realize, Brian's talking about the full bucket, which I don't remember how many doses. I don't even remember what it was. But they're not cheap. They run about on a sale, you'll get them for about $125. I think it is, for that larger bucket. And that's definitely, if you have a lot of colonies to do, that's the way to do it. But when you get down and you're on that last bucket, especially if you're a small little operation, like Brian or myself or what have you, it's always that dividing line. You got to spend another $125 to pull a handful of doses out of it. Having that half bucket on hand would probably be beneficial. So, if people were listening and said, hey, I want to improve some way, shape, or form, either how you deliver it or the size quantities that you can put it out there in, I think that would be helpful for people too,
Caulk tube, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like the caulk.
On the cards I sent, I don't know if Lee gets it or not. I text him a picture of a card that I took a picture of. It's got a 1/4 inch of propolis on it. See if he gets, I don't know if he can get it posted or not, if he can hear me or not.
He may not. He jumped off.
Lee actually just left because he had some other things to tend to, so he can get ready for his trip. So he jumped off.
Then I just now text it to him. So
yeah.
As far as the caulk gun, you can buy what do you call it? Empty cartridges and fill them and all that. If you're looking, if you're going to do by scale or something like that, where you could put the card on the scale, hit it, until you hit the right stuff.
Yeah, somebody needs to come out with that method. I don't want to put it into a caulk gun. If somebody come out with that method, would be helpful,
Already loaded in the caulk gun.
Yeah.
Problem I have with the syringe that they put out with the Apiguard, if you get the Apiguard on it, and do very many treatments, it wipes out the amount of milliliters. So I've used some. I've got some old 100 milliliter from cattle syringes.
Mm-hmm.
They work a lot better and they're marked to where to stay on there. And
Really?
than what the syringes that Apiguard puts out with. I've used it quite a lot over the years. So.
Yeah. We have a partial bucket left here, but I'll end up. I am still going to use the product because even though it's not perfect, I do like it better than. I mean, I just don't want to use a synthetic treatment personally, and I have had good luck with it working, with the exception of me dosing a colony a little heavy, or a nucleus colony, when I think the temperatures were just a little bit on the warm side. But Melissa and I do want to actually try the ApiTab. So I think that I don't think it's going to be my first go-to treatment, but I think it'll be like a maintenance treatment. We've kind of discussed this before in the past, so I don't need to go over that again really either.
Apiguard is on our shopping list for Navi.
So on our shopping list.
I started the other day.
We've been discussing what we want to do differently, and for the most part, I don't think we have any large purchases.
Navi shopping list.
So
You're on page 6, you
Anyway.
say? Page
What?
6. You're on page 6 of your Navi shopping list, are you?
Page 6, yeah.
We don't have that many things, and honestly, I'll read off kind of what we're looking for. We're looking for some boxes of the Hiveguard wax for wax dipping, the Hive Alive fondants, or a fondant similar to that. It doesn't have to be specifically Hive Alive. We do want some of the ApiTabs. We're looking for the Muth glass jars, grafting frame holder. We need some tubs of Apiguard. I want to get some of that oxalic acid from that one gentleman. Potentially some supplements. I need if Greg's listing on here, I'm looking for either Pro Nukes or the Easy Nuke, and I'll overbuy if I can get a deal, and maybe buy for a couple seasons. And I'm actually going to try, JW and I have had conversations about this with Bob Benny stuff. I am going to buy a handful of the double screen boards from Bob Benny. And I'm not only going to use them as a double screen board, but I also want to use them just for maybe a bottom board. Like those stay out there in the app. I don't need to bring them back in. If I split a colony off the top with a double screen board, I may just leave it on that as a bottom board. And here's a question that I want to throw out there to everybody. It's just kind of food for thought. And I've never heard a good answer for it. And nothing to me, when I'm thinking about this logically, makes sense. Why do bottom boards have a landing board strip on them?
I love them myself personally. I wouldn't have them without them. I don't like like the dolls and stuff where they go in directly into a hole.
No.
I don't
Tell me why that is. I just want to
tell
understand.
more about what your bees are doing too. I really feel like if you got it. Now I'm just telling you my opinions, people.
I agree I appreciate that.
That's the reason.
Well, that's like having the landing board, and then you have the other board. It's like where it has a slope on the front.
I don't have
Slanted.
slanted.
Yeah,
So the first ones I bought, Charlie, had all those. You'll pay a little bit more for them, right? But when you're a new beekeeper, you want all the fancy little gadgets. Quickly,
Right.
when we started getting into some numbers, I went with the straight bottom board that didn't have the slanted bottom board and saved, I don't know, $5 or $6 a piece on those. But again, to this day, and maybe I'm missing something, I don't know. And that's why I'm asking the question out there to people. Why do we put landing boards on colonies? I understand the bottom board, but I'm saying the landing strip that's on the front of them, what's the point of it? I've never noticed, or logically, I can't come up with what the point of a landing board
The
is.
benefit of it.
The benefit. Honeybees
The
don't
only
need
thing I can think of is
landing board.
if they come in heavy with either pollen or nectar, sometimes they can't quite make it. They land on that and they walk on in. So
Yeah.
I think it's beekeeper opinion. That's about what it amounts to.
And that's what I'm asking for.
I think
JW
that's
says he
just
doesn't like them
perfect.
because you said that you think that you can't see when they land. You can't
No, I
physically
do
see
like
them.
them. I've got landing boards on a 2-inch landing board or an inch and a half actually.
Okay.
I make all my own bottom boards.
Okay.
So I make my bottom boards an inch and a half, let's say, and this is subject to what kind of mood I'm in.
Yeah.
I make it that much. A lot of times I think you can tell a lot about your hive by just looking how the bees act on the bottom board, you know.
I agree with that 110%. I do agree with that.
So that's the reason I like them. And I've got extended bottom boards out above the front of my, bottom box, bottom super, and an inch and a half on every colony I got. But I've got them on it, and I'm just, I'm reluctant. I've told you people, I don't tell other people how to do their
No,
bees.
but I think your opinion matters, though, JW. You've been around honeybees even when you were a child or younger, So, I mean, your opinion matters here. And I just, even though Charlie's sharing his opinion, I'm sharing, I just don't understand why. I mean, if there's a real solid benefit, then great. But I don't know. In my mind, but I agree with you, JW, when you say that you can tell a lot by a colony watching the bees come in. The number of them, what they're bringing in, how they act, their all that, their actions and such. I agree with that 100%. I just don't know if where did somebody come up with it that you need some 3-inch long slanted bottom board? I mean, is it just somewhere to use more lumber to take your money? Because I just don't understand the whole point of it. Even having
and they still make them. It's come from Daydant years ago. Daydant was the first ones that put them angled, and started selling them. And that was even before, when Kelly was still, that was way before, Kelly sold out.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wonder if it's just a design that somebody made that all of a sudden just kind of stuck and nobody's ever questioned it,
Right.
And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that I don't really see a solid benefit from it, much like, again, this is my opinion and this is where I'm coming from in my area. Maybe somebody else's area might see the benefit. I haven't pulled my entrance reducers out. I'd just leave them in now. But again, maybe somebody, out in Death Valley, California, they may very well leave those things full wide open and maybe there's benefit there, but plus I just don't see it. But so that's why we were talking about.
Look at like Ian Stepper with the pallet system they got. Do they really have much?
Yeah.
They do. They still have a little bit of a landing board.
A little bit, I think.
Yeah,
I think there's a little bit.
I think like Mark or whatever, or the other folks were saying here, Jonathan, where you have that little space there, so you can put that entrance reducer in there, or that mouse guard in there. It gives you a spot to attach it.
Attach it to the front of your bottom super.
Right.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
Because
But I make all my bottom boards. That's just all it is an extended bottom board for the landing. Like my bottom board an inch and a half longer than the box.
And I think that's kind of what my nuke boxes that I buy. They have the bottom board basically attached to them, which I don't like. Some of the nukes I've seen come with an actual bottom board. They come with the box, your lid, whatever. The ones that I get come from the lady here locally to us in St. Louis, and she has them where they're already, and I've seen them before, they're already attached to the box. So for me, that's perfect because I can just grab the whole box with one hand and move it where I need to if I'm moving empty boxes rather than have 3 different pieces. And another thing Melissa and I started doing to save a little cost on it, because we were buying so many 5-frame nuke boxes, I actually went to all migratory covers on those, and I used that double bubble on top as kind of like a insulator, if you will, or it helps to seal up.
It helps them to not propolize the frames to that migratory lid is what it does.
It's a soft inner cover is all that really is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even be opposed to using, like some people use that real heavy fabric. Duck cloth, or they even use canvas sometimes. I wouldn't even be opposed to using that on on something like that. I mean, this is just what we had and I got for free, so I utilized this. But
Yeah,
so
like
anyway,
Michael Palmer used feed bags and stuff like that.
Yeah. JW, do you use all migratory covers on your larger production colonies or not?
Both.
Both?
Both depends
Okay.
on what I'm doing. I've got extra stuff. I like telescopic in the wintertime to keep the the snow and stuff when it melts, and then when I use all migratories in the summertime. I've got migratories on now, but I'll switch them when cold weather comes. I'll switch to the, and I actually make my own form of candy board, so to speak. And that's the reason I don't ever feed 2 to 1. I feed 1 to 1 straight through when the bees go to clustering, then I put on my feeder boards or candy boards. So, and I make them myself. So that's what I, like I said, everybody's got their own different opinion, the way they do things. Kind of old school, and that's the way I do it. So, but I don't get on here and try to tell other people that that's what they should do, because that's not the way.
Now, let me ask you this, JW. Now you and I, when we're drawing a line east to west, you and I are about the same, north to south. We're about the same area. Would you consider overwintering with migratory covers, or probably not?
Well, you can. They'll propolize them. I've got some on some what I call starter frames on my production hives. I put telescoping on those, but on some of my smaller production hives, I even take the nukes through winter, So, and I've got migratory on them, migratory lids on all my nukes. I don't have telescoping lids on any of my nukes.
Yeah, and Melissa and I don't either anymore. We did to start, and a bunch of the nukes,
just a handful of them.
The bunch of the nukes when I started, I was building my own, but I had a little bit more free time then, so I was building on my own. And I would buy the inner cover for the nuke, build my own telescoping cover, build my own box, and I would do several of them. The 2-frame and 3-frame mating nukes that I have, I built all those myself too, with the dial on the front. It's just convenient and easy, and it was not expensive to do. But I haven't convinced myself 100% either way, but Melissa and I talked about it. I said, what if I bought, and I like the HDO material. It's more expensive, but I think that it's going to last the test of time, in my opinion.
You don't want that MDO stuff, Tom. It's
the HDO.
HDO, I've got a bunch of it. I firmly believe in it. I used to I used to drive to Georgia before I found it. There's an access for it right locally to you.
Yeah, that's what you'd said. We haven't figured out where yet, though.
Yeah,
I used to drive to Bob Benny's to get HDO.
Yeah,
but I like the 1/2 inch better. Bob's all 3/4. It all comes from an outlet down there by Atlanta. But the 1/2 inch, in my opinion, it's better, and it'll do the same thing. It's got the same protective, on the high density layer on the top.
Yeah.
Tom,
I do have some MDO out there, and I have it on my feeder boxes. So I use the same style feeder that you have, Charlie, which is that Man Lake Hive top feeder. It's got the 2 trays and you got the screen cover. I didn't buy the boxes. I'm like, that's an easy make, much like if you're making a telescoping cover, that's pretty simple. Certain things are pretty easy to make. And I think if you have a little more free time, people should and have the wherewithal and the tools to make them. They save themselves a lot of money. But I had made some of those boxes that hold those top feeders out of MDO, and all I did was I painted the fronts of them, just so when I look at colonies from a distance, I'm like, okay, there I got feeders on all those. It's easy to recognize. But I didn't do anything else to them, and I have them out in the field. Now, they don't sit out there year round, but at this point, I haven't treated them with paint or anything. And
Besides the front.
I want to just see how they last. My brother-in-law works for a developing company, and he has the big contract with, I forget what the large lumber company is around the United States. But anyway, he got me 5 sheets.
Yes, DC, you can.
He got me 5 sheets, and I had made a bunch of those out there, and I still need to make a few more. But I am going to try again, like I said, the double screen boards this year on some of them, but I also want to get a handful of 8-frame migratory lids. I don't know if I'm going to have Bob put the hole in them or not for the feeder jar, because I don't use that, but I think I want to try those on a handful of colonies and just see what it looks like, see what my luck is, just for, I don't know, just to try something different and see if I can move that way or something and save myself some cost, then I'll do that. So
right,
again,
one little, you said your nukes are the ones that died with Apiguard. Did they just have a hole in the front of them?
they have the opening across the entire front. That's the only ventilation or entrance there is. So on those, you'll have the basic picture a nuke box, just a deep nuke box, and put a bottom on it. Put a piece of 1 by 3/4 material on it, and have a little opening in the front that's probably 5/16 maybe across the entire front. Then I put the double bubble, the Reflectix, and I had a migratory lid on top of them. That's how I think
there's your problem right there, is ventilation. Because I got into an argument, well, not an argument, but a discussion about me putting Formic Pro on a nuke. And I said, look, it's 5/5. It's, instead of going vertically, I went horizontally. It's the same size cavity per se with frames. But my nukes are like miniature 10 framers. They actually have a screen bottom board. And then you stack your boxes with an inner cover and a tele cover and so the ventilation factor is, I'm going to say probably my ventilation is a little bit more than what yours is. Because he was saying, well, what about the nuke box that's just got the bird, the 1.5-inch hole with the dial on the front? I said, yeah, you're right. They're not going to have the ventilation in order to take care of that Formic Pro or maybe Apiguard if it's at, let's say, 10 grams.
Yeah, that's very possible.
So, I mean, if you only have a small slit across, and it's a solid bottom board, your ventilation is less than what probably mine is. Even though I got a screen bottom board and I put the coroplast under there, there's still some leakage, I'll say there.
Yeah,
so
sure.
That's something that you might want to take and consider when you put the amount of Apiguard on your nukes, if you do that next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point.
Even on my 8 or 10, Tom, even on my 8 or 10, if I'm giving them full dosage, the Apiguard or Formic, I buy a box full of popsicle sticks. That's what I use to vent the tops with my migratory tops. Stick a popsicle stick so that immediate discharge, or whatever you want to call it, gives them some relief, and that's where you burn them, or where they abscond, or whatever you're going to kill some, and they'll go abscond.
I think it's like Jay does. I think that there's a discrepancy in how much ventilation, depending on the size or the type of hive you have. Where I have screen bottoms where I put coroplast in, there is a little bit of leakage out of the bottom because that's not tight and solid like a solid bottom board is. And of course you have the entrance is fully open. And then like you're putting your popsicle sticks up on the top, JW?
I do. Yes.
So you have a little, and then like with mine, I have, instead of popsicle, I have the inner cover. I have my little blocks up there, which jack that lid up a little bit. So there's sort of a chimney effect. Yeah. And
let's see, I have
ventilation, but some ventilation.
I don't own the inner cover. I don't use them. Yeah. Haven't for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm getting at is that you're providing a slight amount of ventilation there to not over stress the hive with all that gas.
That's what I do.
You got to bake the cake just right in order to make it all work.
Yeah.
Well, JW, I appreciate you bringing that point up, and I think I'll try that even in the future, even if I cut my dose way back and maybe try a few of them like that. I'll put
Even if you
those.
leave it on there for 3 or 4 days, you can always jerk that popsicle stick out.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
So I want to address a comment DC made on here, or a question. Can you buy just the plastic inserts from the top, or probably for the top feeders? You absolutely can. And that's how I purchased them before, because again, I know that I can make a box out of 3/4 plywood, get some 1-bys, whatever it might be. It doesn't take that much glue. You got to cut them down and staple them together. It's super simple to do, and it's really fast, and you'll save yourself a ton of money. So if you're going to buy those, you can definitely do it that way. I will say the one
The Saracel
drawback,
ones are much better.
they are. The Saracel ones are much better. If somebody wants to afford to pay the little bit more money for the ones out of New Zealand, Saracel, I like those feeders a lot better because I'll see less screen. They can't push the screens out like they can on those, like the ones Charlie and I have. And that's the downfall of those. Their Saracels are a little bit more expensive, but I've in the past silicone the screens down so they can't push their way out or have any open gaps so they can get out to the syrup and drown. But you absolutely can buy just the plastic inserts. Mark Miller actually brings up a point here that I never thought about. He says, I do know that an open screen bottom through winter is most of the time my best producers. I think it's because they consume most of the winter store, and that makes them more room to lay early on. Mark, interesting enough, I think you and I are probably in a same, latitude area as well, in where we live at. I've actually, for most of the winter, just forgot and didn't have a lot of these inserts for my screen bottoms in there, and none of these colonies seemed like they suffered any from them. A lot of times if I'm doing OA treatments, I like to have all those in there. I mean, I think you're supposed to have them closed up.
Do you have, Tom, pardon my interruption, do you have, see, I've got on my screens, I've got little sliders underneath where I can adjust the coroplast. If you put the coroplast in there, you can either close it completely or slide it out the back. As your bottom boards with screens, if you got little sliders where you can put the coroplast in there also?
Yeah, you can do that. So if you wanted just to crack it open a little bit and leave it hanging part of the way out the back, you can do that.
I use that as an adjustment feature even on my, when I'm applying Formic or Apiguard. You can open it up a little more than normal.
Yeah. So when you have Apiguard on, do you put that insert inside the hive?
I leave it in there. I'll open it up a little more. I may open it up a fourth of the way even, and then stick my. We can talk about that privately, but it is. Yeah. I'm not saying that. I'm not talking because it's a big secret as to what I do. I'm just talking that I'm not comfortable trying to tell other people, the way to keep their bees. I'm just not comfortable.
Well, I don't think you're doing that. I just think that you're sharing your experience, and your experience is your experience. I don't think you're trying to, I don't think ever feel like you're trying to tell somebody what to do. I think, just having an open discussion here is all. I mean, I try to openly admit my fault too when it comes to something. If I think I screwed up on something, I want people to know, just so, hey, you know what, I'm learning on all this stuff too, and I want people to maybe not follow in my failures, or maybe they'll have a different type of success in something, too. So that's why I appreciate these chats.
Bee wise, I screw up. I'm 80 years old and I screw up on bees almost daily.
Well, guys, I'm going to head out. I'll see y'all later. I'll see y'all tomorrow night at my channel from 8:00 Eastern Standard if you stop by. So catch y'all later.
See you, Charlie. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So, and some of my reasoning by doing some of this stuff, like, maybe using a migratory cover or using HDO or something like that. My goal here is to save cost a little bit and have my woodenware, my equipment so I can get more value out of it. I don't want to have to come back and start replacing stuff within 10 years time or anything. So that was kind of my point in which I was trying to do things a little bit differently and trying to understand some of these things and what people's experiences are with this, so that we can all learn from it and maybe help each other out in this way. So, yeah, so I think everybody's area yields a little bit different result too, as far as, where you're at in the country. And I think that makes
Well,
a
like
huge.
I said, most people use bottom boards. I don't own one. I don't use them. I use, I use the insulating material, bubble wrap, if you want to call it. The bad
Mhm.
thing about it is the bees propolize it and it gets sticking, and one side will tear off of it sometimes. But other than that, there's no perfect answer. Just different people have different ways of keeping
Mhm.
bees, and what works for me may not work for you.
Yeah.
Depending on your technique. But I'm with them. The advantage that I have over you guys that has another job is I'm out there. I check my bees. I don't say I'm in them every day. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not in every hive every day, but I'm in every yard every day, and I
Mhm.
got all my bees on individual stands, and I walk around and check the landing boards on every hive I've got every day, year round. That's just the way I do it.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I do agree with you. I think that you can learn a lot by watching the entrances and the landing boards of that.
Well,
I
there's
don't
not
know.
too much water in dead winter when she's 20 degrees. You're not going to have much activity on the landing board. But I'm
No.
still out there checking to see if their eyes thin. If we get a little snow, I scrape them
Yeah.
out. Or if I think the bees are loaded, I made me a little old scraper. I'll scrape out the bottom board. You understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah. You can even go on the back of the hives and just give them a little heft just to see if you feel like they're starting to get light too. Just a simple little lift on the back.
And another thing about it that I was going to ask you said you got your 5-frame nukes. And I had some of them, and I took them off that solid bottom because when I wanted to clean them out, or after you've had frames in there for a while, don't they get propolized up where do you not ever have to clean them out? And it's how do you clean them out
Um,
with the solid
I mean,
bottom board? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, ideally, they don't stay in nukes forever, So when I transfer them out, that's when I kind of scrape them down and clean them out, or what have you.
You do dump them out. Only way to do that is dump them up, turn them upside down and do them. I mean, I took
Yeah.
4
So
out of nukes and transferred them into 8 frames today. Out of 5 frame to 8 to break them
yeah,
down for dinner. They were
Yeah, we
3D
usually
size.
just scrape
I
them
put them
down
in.
and transfer them over.
yeah. When I take frames out and move it over, I always usually, unless I'm really being pushed for time, I take whatever, whether it's an 8-frame box, it's a nuke box, whatever it may be. I usually scrape the propolis off of where the frame rests sit up in there. I scrape that all down. I don't pull all the propolis out of the box because I don't even care about that. I know Melissa makes fun of me and says I spend too much time doing it, but I'm just trying to save myself some time later on where I can do that right then and there. Again, as long as I have a little time, I'll scrape the sides of the end bars down where they touch so that the frame's always pushed together. I'm adamant about that. And also, if I have to pull a bunch of frames out or move it out into equipment, I take my hive tool right then and there, and I scrape my.
I'm just like you. I do the same.
Yeah, and some people can make fun of me and say it's because I'm a little OCD about it, and I'm not going to disagree and say that I'm not. But I also want to have things very efficiently moving, and Melissa's not like that.
Well, it depends on the bees you got. Some of them just flat make a lot more propolis than that.
Oh yeah, they
Yes,
do.
they definitely do. They definitely do. I agree with that.
If you get much Carniolan or Caucasian influence in your hives, your propolis production is going to pick up quite profusely. I can tell you in my experience.
Yeah, I was gonna try to do some propolis trapping this year, and I just didn't have time to do it. So, because we've had some people asking us for propolis over the last couple of years. Do you?
That's my chewing gum. I eat propolis. So I'll make the, I'll scrape it out of the hives. I'll roll it up the ball and chew on it.
Yeah. We've had a few people asking us for it.
Yeah.
I just didn't have time to do any collection. We've never done it before, but we bought Apiguard has some.
I've got them and I don't like them.
Say that again.
I said, I've got the Apamaze, the propolis, little
The
propolis scraps on the
scrap.
Apamaze. I don't like them.
But they're silicone.
Ma'am,
They're silicone, so you can freeze them, and then you're supposed to be able to, roll them up, and the propolis cracks off of them. Again, I haven't used them yet because I didn't have time to this year. So,
Yeah.
did you try them though, JW? You didn't like them?
I've got them on some hives. I took them out.
Did you?
The bees didn't like it. I found, and that's just my experience. I found that the bees didn't like them too much either. Give them a try. See how they work for you. But
Yeah.
and if you want some extras, I've got some for 10 frames.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I have time next year, I'll try them out. I didn't have time
Well,
to put them this year.
They come in 10s and 7s. They don't. Epimay don't.
They don't have any 8-frame equipment. Yeah. We've got two 10-frame Apamaze, and we've got 2 of the 7-frame Apamaze.
Yeah.
The propolis traps we have are for the 10 frames.
Mm-hmm. And JW, you have the 7 frames too, right?
Just the bottom boards. I don't have their 10-frame hive bodies. I just.
No. The 7 frame. You have the 7 frame Apamaze.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hive bodies,
And
yes.
do you like those?
I do. But the thing about them is that they don't. The bad thing about them is they're out there by themselves. They won't, nothing else to fit them. You understand what I'm saying? Their hive bodies won't fit our standard 10 and 8 and 5 frame stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can only use it for that.
We can talk about this privately because we're actually doing a kind of private conversation in public. I guess people may have already shut us down, but
We got like 32 people still on here hanging on with us.
I'll end it here in a second.
forgot what I was going to tell you. Oh, what was you talking about?
The 7-frame Apamaze, the downfall.
Match up with anything else. I've got some 2s and 3s. Some of them's never been used. For mating nukes, whenever we get together, I'll bring them to you. If you use them, I can give me some trade in on our little extractor.
Yeah,
I've got 4 or 5 3s and 4 or 5 2s. I'll never use. All I'm going to ever use from now on is 10s, a few 10s, mostly 8s, and if all my mating stuff, I'm just going to put in 5-frame stuff. I'm not going to mess with the 3s and the 2s and have to check it in 2 weeks and all that. I'm just not going to do it.
I don't know if I'd be interested in the 2 frames, but the 3 frames I would, because I have some 2 frames that I built. I have some 3 frames that I built.
You got to take the 2s too. I'll just throw them in. I don't.
All right. The thing that I don't like about the 2s is it's difficult to pull a frame out without dragging a few bees because you don't have enough wiggle room to work this way.
You understand what I'm saying? They're not all exactly the same width. Depends on who makes your 2s or as to how wide they are. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got that.
A little more roomy than the next 2 frame that you might get, depending on where they come from.
Yeah,
Hey,
for sure.
DC, I wonder how easy it'll be to get that propolis window screen with those small holes. If it'll be hard to get it to break free of that or not. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I'm going to go ahead and end this chat tonight. We've been on for a little bit longer than I was really anticipating. So I really appreciate you guys hanging on here and kind of joining us and listening to our ramblings and such. But we kind of wanted this, we didn't want it to be all doom and gloom and such, but we did want people to understand some of our friends and our extended family basically do have some issues and such. We wanted to help people understand what was going on and things of that nature. So it wasn't trying to be doom and gloom, but we want to kind of pay some respects to our friends here, particularly the guy who happens to be the guy that runs this channel, Horizontal Bees. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down here this evening. We really appreciate you guys coming in, joining us, and listening to get our ramblings. And I appreciate JW coming in and joining me here this evening, as well as Charlie and Todd too. So, and definitely thank you to Lee for always helping everybody out in the backgrounds. Again, a guy who does so much for people in the community, and I don't think he gets enough thanks, to be really honest with you. So
people don't realize how much information Lee Coonby throws out there to folks.
yeah, Lee puts a lot of time and effort into helping people out on channels. I don't know if other people realize that or not, but he really does, and he's a pretty selfless individual. So I don't know if he's going to watch the rest of this later on. I know he logged off already himself because he had things going on, but you guys ever think about it, thank Lee for some of the stuff that he does here, because all the cool little features you see on these chats, Lee probably had a hand in it.
Even just getting him started and getting him going.
Yeah, just getting him started. Lee had other things to do, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind helping share some of those photos and stuff. So he did stick on with me to do that. So again, we appreciate all you guys, and I really enjoy these chats just to get hang out with people as well as to learn people's experiences. And that's kind of, I think, what these chats are all about. So
we plan on doing this next week also. Don't know if Ricky will be with us or not.
Yeah. And it'll be in the same place here, Ricky's channel. Melissa and I don't know that we've never really openly said this, and I don't know. Her and I's goal in beekeeping and doing these chats and stuff is not to bring more attention to ourselves, even though her and I get into some shenanigans, and I think JW enjoys it as much as we do. But we really do these chats just to hang out with everybody, and our goals really are not to
have our own chat.
So I'm not saying never. I'm just saying that it's really not what my goal is, and it's not what I'm about.
But we really want to do this on Ricky's channel on Thursday nights to keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
We don't want it not to be here on Thursday night, so that when he is able to come back, everybody's still showing up on Thursday night. So we appreciate everybody showing up tonight.
Yeah, I had already asked Ricky. I said, hey, if you're cool with it, I'm like, we're happy to do this. If you say no, don't worry about it, then I said we'll be happy to end it. It's not a big deal, but I mean, even if it helps him out just a little bit in some simple way, we're still happy to do it.
Bye. You froze up.
Let's see. Are we back?
Are we back?
Yeah, you're back.
Can you hear me, Jaden?
All right.
Okay. Well, I need to be a little short.
Froze up.
Okay.
Back.
My internet seems to be, God's telling us something here. So I'm going to go ahead and quit blabbing my mouth. So thank you guys. Appreciate everybody. I love interacting with everybody. We'll talk to you guys.
Good night, y'all.
See you, everybody.